Welcome back, everyone. Here we are again this evening after a very interesting chapter this morning. That second chapter, well, that's how it went down for me as I was recording them. And it was morning, not really afternoon when I finally got around to it. So guess what? Time's not real. It is the circle that ever keeps you trapped within its parameters. Welcome. Thursday evening at the time of recording this. This third chapter we're about to get into here in Ophiel's Art and Practice of the Occult. I hope you're all enjoying it so far. Here with your good buddy, your fellow mad monk on the path, Jay Valveo. Now, that last chapter, a little bit of elemental earth, very interesting. Some of that information on the Sphinx, very cool. And a little bit of what seems to be a kind of a teaser and a hint towards what I think he's going to go a little more into detail in this chapter, since right there at the top we see elemental force of water, Opus, and Tetragrammaton, aka Yod-He Vav-He. So, welcome. So happy to have you here. I hope you're having a fabulous point in time whenever you find this. If not, I hope that turns around real quick for you. Okay, so in our study of the elemental force of water, we will start out with the same method as we used on and in our study of the elemental force Prithvi, or earth. Get out your drawing and painting materials and get set to draw. So again, we'll do that together at some point. I think would be awesome. We'll organize together whatever we need if you don't already have some of the supplies. And then that can be maybe kind of like a little celebratory thing whenever we hit that 50 subscribers, and anybody speak up. Please speak up if you would like to be part of it, because once that happens, then I'll announce, hey, this is the day we'll do it. So set your calendar. We'll try to get some advance notice, all of that. Oh, please. Okay, good. Thought it stopped recording for a sec. So we'll try to get some advance notice, all of that. And then we will get together and paint some of these and have a little chit chat, whether we do a YouTube live or we do some kind of Skype. We'll just see what's up. But I think that'll be fun. Good way to celebrate. Hey, we hit the subs. We can have a nice little art class, art group. Okay, so you will find upon examination that the symbol of water is a half circle, and it could even be better described as a half moon. The occult colors of the top of water are black and gray. Black, and or its complementary color, gray. The gray is sometimes seen as white. After all, how do you see white on white? The color could be described as grayish white. Making the drawing of the elemental symbol of water is quite easy and simple. In fact, one of the easiest and simplest to make, draw, and paint. You should have no trouble at all. In one of my books, The Art and Practice of Getting Things Through Creative Visualizations, you will find 4 of the elemental forces on the inside covers and the next 2 pages alongside of them. If you have the book, you can take the measurements from these prints with your measuring compass and transfer them to your 4x4 card. Okay. Wonderful. And then proceed to finish the diagram. Make 2 elemental water cards, 1 black half moon and 1 white background. and one white half moon and black background. Of course, as aforesaid, the elemental force of water is not the same as the physical water. We are here again dealing with the qualities of elemental water, not real water. The most outstanding quality of elemental water is contraction, shrinking, shrinkage. We can note in passing that physical water cannot be physically compressed, not one iota. And this follows naturally the quality of water above referred to. You might say that occult, metaphysical water is in the process of becoming real water. And while it is becoming it, it is also in the process of contraction or condensation. When it reaches its final form, real water, it is then in this state of earth-like water, or could be said, earth of water. What tarot card is that? Anyone? Anyone? The earth of water. That would be Princess or Page of Cups, right? Because pages, the princess is all being earth, earthy, and then the cups being the water suit. Okay. Earth of water, and then no further contraction is possible, having reached the physical and metaphysical limit. Elemental water is a coming down from above. You will recall I told you we were going back up from below to above where we came from. Much later on, you will reverse this procedure as much as is necessary to cover/illustrate the occult situation. So far, we have not done too much work on planes, although I have handled the subject somewhat in some other lessons. I will say now that each elemental force rules a plane, or rather, rules its own plane. Curve. That was a really wonderful phone call we had. I'm gonna blast just a tiny bit of it. So we were talking a little bit about just this. We were talking a little bit about when you feel. Well, Curve said something really interesting. He said, you know how water is emotion? Well, don't you think fire would be emotion too? And I said, yeah, definitely, in certain regards, without a doubt. But because he was saying how, how sometimes you kind of can get, like, I know I experienced that where you can get kind of, so we were talking about how you can get a little, you feel like you're boiling. I think Trav's mentioned that before too, because that kind of water, fire elements, getting into that kind of reactive state. So it's kind of like that boiling type of emotion, you could call it. And, but where he was kind of breaking it down into the planes. And that was really cool. I was really liking that and talking about how, getting in that state, then maybe wanting to bring in the influence of that mental plane, or with that air element, which then later I had texted him and said, I would think, without a doubt, but I would think also it would be good to, since it's kind of the two elements that are, what's the word I want to react? Well, reacting is one, but I was trying to think for another one. But what is the two elements that are reacting and getting a little unbalanced? Then kind of forcefully putting in the influence of those other elements and planes. So not just the mental, but then putting in that earth, that material too. So where then you know, maybe go for a walk, do something that connects you with your body, go for a walk, even do a little chore around the house, cook some food, draw a little picture. Writing in your journal could be two birds at one stone, because then you're getting that writing aspect, the pen and the paper, and then also you're operating with your thoughts, with all that. So definitely don't overlook the importance of journaling along with your practice, because Heavenly Father knows I did for more time than necessary. Well, it's okay. Better late than never. Let's resume. Thank you, Curve. That was a great call. And I'm not surprised one bit that this book is just breaking down some more of that in its own way. Okay, so we were right there. Hence, the element of earth rules the physical plane. Even though the elemental force of elemental earth is not the same as physical earth, as I repeat to enforce this distinction, which please keep in mind, as this idea is the very essence of magical practices. Also, hence the element of water rules the next plane above the physical plane, the etheric plane. The etheric plane should then have the characteristics of water, and it does. As I outlined to you before, much of these basic occult or metaphysical truths were embodied in ancient religions in the form of myths and stories about the gods and their doings. This idea now being presented of the study of the elemental forces, plus the information about planes ruled and or influenced by them, in turn is shown in the myths of the ancient Greek religion, of the characteristics of three gods, Pluto, Poseidon, and Zeus. Sick. Dude, that's a sick little trinity right there in the pantheon. Pluto, Poseidon, and Zeus. Woo. All right, Pluto was the god of and ruled the underworld. Earth, this is the underworld. Poseidon was the god of and ruled the ocean, water of the etheric plane. None of these planes, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be planes, none of these planes were physical. Zeus was the god of and ruled the skies, air, the mental plane. And Hecate, the goddess, shout out, just like I did in my last video. So here you go again, goddess, shout out, ruled all three, right? She ruled heaven, earth, the sea, or sometimes it's looked at as heaven, earth, underworld, or sky, land, and sea. Love you, Hecate. Okay, so now you know, and or should be beginning to suspect, that there is something more behind these ideas than meets the casual glance. You know that the underworld, earth, the ocean water, and the sky's air are and are not actual earth, water, air. Hence, it follows that they must refer to an inner earth, water, and air. And so we come back to the planes and the planes. So we come back to the planes and the planes, all right, by their characteristics. And the planes, by their characteristics, show they are closely related to the elemental forces. And I'm going to highlight real quick, so we might go back on that real quick, but I know sometimes I see Trav doing that. I don't know any of you just doing that in your own free time reading, but where I'll do that like I just did, where at first I'll be like, wait, that doesn't make sense, but then it's like, read the whole sentence and then, come back, because sometimes like at first it seems like, I don't know, punctuation or something's off. And okay, so anyway, hence it follows that they must refer to an inner earth, water, and air. Okay. So the planes, by their character, show they are closely related to the elemental forces and, in fact, might even be said to be both plane and force in one. See how this idea appeals to you? And where does it lead you? Do some meditation yourself. Better highlight that, both plane and force in one. Another clue tip off here to indicate some information worthy of examination is that the three gods referred to are brothers, suggesting metaphysically that the three are really one, merely changing forms from one plane to another, which idea is completely in accord with the fact that the elemental forces change from one into the other, both up and down. The elemental force, water, has begun to enter the sphere of the elemental force of earth, and it is beginning to have a sort of form. Not much of a form, to be sure, but enough to be noticeable. The same as physical water has a tenuous form, and which potential form can be poured into molds and thus take the form of the/any mold form. Remember that if you can't always figure out the possible meaning and understanding of an elemental force, then compare the elemental force with its physical counterpart. And this comparison will give you some ideas as to how and what the inner plane elemental force is, and some idea of what it does or how it functions on the inner planes. But do remember, all these elemental forces are linked together, and each is a part of a series group. Each is a part of each other at all times through the transition, either up or down. As you can recall at this point such time that all these elemental forces are present in man, and in fact is man. Quite a profound thought there. Give it some meditation. Okay, we're gonna get a little highlighting on a little of that. Elemental forces. And then up here, where was it? Okay, compare the elemental force with its physical counterpart too. Okay, all right then. What you guys think so far? Juicy, huh? Okay. The color of the elemental force of water is white, as said before, with the complementary color black. You all know, though, that large bodies of water are, or show up, green. Also, in some places, blue, like Blue Lake Tahoe. These changes from white to green and blue are due either to mixtures of other elements which change the water, or reflections of the water when the elemental forces mix or form compounds with each other. The resulting mixture is naturally a different color than either of the two originals. There is much confusion in the occult about colors. The above explanation can, in the future, when you run across some confused claims about the same colors for the opposite things in different schools. Explain these differences. You can take it as pretty certain that the basic colors are as I give them to you. And if you run across differences, then you had better take another look at the validity of the school. I don't know. I don't remember if Trav had mentioned it, and I haven't really seen a whole lot online regarding kind of too much backstory on Ophiel. But I do kind of get the vibe that he's kind of like one of those, was like a part of, I don't know, some group, some order or something, and I don't know, just kind of said, yo, why, did the whole, why are we hiding this from people? Screw that. Secret's out. But I could be wrong. Let me know if you know. Go ahead. Slip it in that old comment section down below. Okay. The human body is composed of much water, and there is more water in the human body than there is solid material. This corresponds to the physical fact that the body of the world is composed of more water than earth. The human body is composed of much, kind of hard to highlight on this thing, but that's all right, I'll figure it out. Much water, and there is more water in the human body than there is solid material. This corresponds to the physical fact that the body of the world is composed from more water than earth. As within, so without, as above, so below. It's all connected, right? You've seen, I'm sure, those super cool images of like, oh wow, and I just saw the minutes was at 22 minutes, 22 seconds. You've seen those super cool images of like the human veins, or like the lung, and the way it's branched like a tree branch, and so much of that, the way the veins snake, just like rivers snake through the woods or the jungles or the deserts. Yep. For any of you who have perhaps ingested a significant enough dose of an entheogen, well, you're pretty good and familiar with that. And for those who haven't, well, you don't need to begin to kind of understand and experience that connectedness, that interconnectedness of everything. Meditation, yoga, magic will certainly get you there also. As said before, we are considering the elements up backwards, and you will note an increasing abundance of elements the higher back up we go, and this will be noted again when we arrive at those points in our studies. I will repeat some of this as it is rather important. Thus, the etheric plane just above the physical plane is much larger and freer in all ways than is the physical plane. The other planes next above the etheric are still more free than the etheric, and should be noted in more detail when we arrive there in our studies. Don't let it be lost on you too. Ophiel, not just him, but a lot of these authors, where they will put specific things like that in quotes, because a lot of times it's we don't really have a better word or way to put it than that, so it's better to put it in quotes to kind of understand that it's not literal. Just like you see some of those images like for the flat earth, and it shows the layers, and so people feel that solidifies the argument for flat earth. Maybe it does. I don't know. Really, what I think is it was more of just the original kind of metaphysical maps where they, just in that same regard, didn't really have a better way to illustrate it. So they, kind of stacked it like one on top of the other. Also, probably in that order of, you could say, closer to God, or closer to matter, right? Or even some of those things, I guess you could say, considered below or lower than matter. But I don't know, whatever. What do I know? This thing might be flat as shit. If the earth were flat, I'm sure cats would have pushed everything off the edge by now. But what do I know? I haven't been there. I haven't seen the whole. I haven't been in space. So what do I know? All I know is everyone online thinks they know a lot of things, and so just stay off social media. Oh boy, just stay away from it. Stay inside of books instead. Let's keep going. I believe I will introduce, at this point, another basic occult teaching and link it in with the explanation. And expostulation of the elemental forces. Oh yeah, you already see right there. Oh, but not to that page yet, but you see some of that. Tetragrammaton. This is going to be fun, I think. It is a peculiar thing, but it seems to me, or I discovered it myself in my hard search through the occult, that there is a strange tendency for occult teachers and students to grasp some phase of the occult knowledge teachings and study and teach and concentrate on that one particular phase to the exclusion of other parts of the occult. At least, this is what I have noticed, and I have never found one of these teachers linking different occult teachings and phases together into a whole. The whole being the entire Kabbalah system teachings, of which what we are studying is a part. Good thing we're also putting lots of study and focus into that system of Kabbalah. What a blessing to have it all fall into place. At this time of writing, it is my intention to go into the Kabbalah. How far I can go into the Kabbalah in this book is problematical space-wise. I do expect to do a whole complete book on the Kabbalah at some future date, but the subject is so vast, I don't think I can ever cover it fully and properly, no matter what I do. And he did cover that book properly, and that's one of the ones Trav did. It's great. I've seen some bad reviews from people. I've seen bad reviews kind of Ophiel in general, but that was one of the books I've seen kind of catch some crap. But you know what? Read it. It's good. Go check it out. The phase of occult teachings I propose to introduce now is called by a name. The name being Tetragrammaton. Tetragrammaton is a Greek word. Tetra meaning four, and gramma means letters means letter or letters, from which, no doubt, comes our word grammar. This Greek word really describes a Hebrew combination of four letters, which are Yod, He, Vav, He. This Hebrew, again, is not really a word, but a process, a law. And he wrote another really, really great book, breaking all of that down to the... But all caps wasn't enough. We better star it. Up. Okay. Excellent. Just a couple more pages. This one's almost done. And then we will have completed chapter 3. Let's see. I could take off about 10,000 pages here to describe how the above word process is a law. It is the law. Sorry. Tetragrammaton, but love is the law. Love under will. The law of all laws. There is nothing in the physical universe, the creation of which is not subject to the above YHVH law. At this time/point, about all I can say is that, what should I say YHVH? Should I say Yahweh, Jehovah? Should I say Tetragrammaton? Whatever. We'll just do the Hebrew one. All I can say is that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is naturally connected with the elemental forces, and the elemental forces being all the physical universe. You can take my word for it, for the time being, that all the physical world is ruled by Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. But we still have a lot more knowledge work to do before we can get into this Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh more fully and completely. For the present time, I can tell you that the last He is equated with the elemental force called Earth. Remember, we are going now up, backwards. The last He in Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, as well as the first He, means in Hebrew window, wind, door. The actual secret meaning, teaching, is actually what is seen through a window, the view, objects in view, etc. Naturally, what is seen through a window is an earth-type scene, correct? Even though it is an imaginary scene, it is still an earth scene. The Vav is what we are concerned with now at this point, as we are now studying water. The last final He is earth, and Vav is water. The Vav means now. I said before that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh was a law, the law of all laws. This is the law that Moses received in the desert. Question, exclamation, not the so-called law of the 10 Commandments. A little thought on your part, a little metaphysical. Contemplation will show you that the so-called 10 Commandments could not possibly be the law referred to throughout the Old Testament section of the Bible. I bet we could think of 10 other things you could also maybe consider kind of like a commandment or a law or like an influence. In the first place, the 10 Commandments were entirely negative in effect and action. The obedience to them conferred no powers whatsoever, merely a vague promise of some future well-being, a promise doubtfully kept by God. Much of the Bible and other sacred writings are like that. There are certain basic truths hidden, and their cognizance depends upon your own understanding and nothing else. Like in this case, you, in order to accept the above material, have to reach a point where you must and do feel that there is more to the 10 Commandments than meets the outer eye. Ooh. And about that basic truths hidden depending on your understanding. That's why one of the things I have implemented back in with my practice for a little while now is reading from the Bible every night, along with my just kind of like little routine. Before my meditations, I will I have a bunch of different little scriptures I'll read out of there. And especially with a bunch of this study and practice and all of that I have under my belt, which I'm sure can't even sniff, some of the guys who have been doing this for all their life and have a real good understanding of the Bible, the occult, all of that stuff. I can only imagine the way that they read it. Give it a try. Start reading some scripture. What do you have to lose? There just must be more to the whole matter than what is on the surface. I don't mean if you are not ready for the knowledge that you should start an orgy of disobedience to the 10 Commandments. I mean only that there is more to it than most people suspect. It is time you went deeper into the matter than you have heretofore. I said before, and I repeat it for your benefit again, that the ancient religions had about all the truth there was to be had, because there is only one truth, and that one truth is all. There are not two things that are equally true, so they cancel each other out completely. Two things might both be true and apparently contradict each other, but a meditative examination will show that one is truer than the other because one is deeper than the other, or something more and deeper in the way of understanding is required to differentiate between two or more truths. I don't know how much of the Old Testament story of Moses is true as far as history goes. Egyptian history, which is pretty good, makes no mention of the incidents as given in the Old Testament section of the Bible. The outstanding statement that might be relatively true and should attract your attention is the part where the Bible record states, in substance, that as the son child, adopted, of an Egyptian princess, a member of the royal family, he was educated in all the lore and wisdom and magic of Egypt. Undoubtedly, these words mean just that he was given access to and trained in the highest Egyptian religion and its magic. Why this educational process was not explained more fully and in greater detail as to its inner meaning is a mystery. Now to return to Yahweh. If this matter of the Tetragrammaton was explained out and openly, as I am going to explain it to you, how many people would understand it? How many people would resent it? How long would it be before some non-understanding ignorant would say, I can't understand this stuff, and so it must be wrong, and then write it out over according to his understanding on a lower level, as was probably done in the Bible and the present record story of the 10 Commandments, and so end up with a lot of nothing, as there is now. Yeah, like a lot of occult texts that just, some of these authors, decide that they're gonna just, re-say stuff that's been said already so many times, and, whatever. So, to get back to Tetragrammaton and the law, which is the law, you have been given the 4 letters and some part of their meanings. This subject should come up again and again in this book, and I might forget to call your attention to it each time. So be on the lookout for any and all new applications of the law as we go on. as we go on through this book. Oh, come on. Oh, crud. I had the page numbers wrong. I thought it was ending on this one, but it's after these two. That's all right. Who doesn't love a good, what is it called? Doxing. Who doesn't love a good Yahweh doxing? I said that Tetragrammaton was not only a law, it was also a process. Tetragrammaton is a process as follows. The 4 letters constitute a working pattern. The first letter is Yod. The meaning of the letter Yod is hand, a hand. The second letter, He, means window, wind door. The third letter, Vav, means nail. And the second He and last letter means the same as the first He, with the difference that under this final He is placed a dot. This dot indicates that the second He is solidified or is a real object, whereas the first He was a pictured image object. Thank you, Ophiel, because I have yet to get that deep into learning the Hebrew language and alphabet as to what all the little, when there's dots and how many and some of those parts. I don't know that yet. We have so far covered the study of the element force of earth and part of the elemental force of water. I told you that the final He corresponded to the elemental force of earth. I will add here now, even if we didn't study them as yet, that Vav is equated with the elemental force of water. The first He is equated with the elemental force of fire, and the first Yod is equated with the elemental force of air. So the formula, law of action, is air, fire, water, earth. We will not consider further, for now, the elemental forces in connection with the creative powers of the name, but will consider these forces in another in another manner. The names of the letters of the name and these names in action. So, maybe I was just mistaken, but he said Yod being air, the first He, fire, but I thought it was Yod, fire, the first He, water, the Vav, air, and then the last He, earth. But like I said, I could have just been mistaken in that understanding. And then again, that's me putting them up with the 4 Kabbalistic worlds and where they go in with there, because isn't it Atziluth, fire, Bria, water, Yetzirah, air, Asaya, earth? Hit me up, let me know. Slip on in them comments and give it to me. Okay. We will not consider further for now the elemental forces in connection with creative powers of nature, but we'll consider these forces in another manner, the names of the letters of the name and these names in action. Yod means hand. A hand, as you know, grasps what is wanted and also points at what is wanted. A hand is movable, and later you will find that Yod is equated with the elemental force of air. For now, keep the idea of movability in mind when thinking of Yod, hand. Oh, Ophiel. Crowley, Dion, all these occultists are just a bunch of pervs. He means window or wind door, as I said. A wind door is an opening through which air can pass freely. Air, movability. Also, a wind door is an opening through which light can pass and through, which can also be viewed a scene. A scene of earth, or even a scene of the mind imagination of the earth or earth things. To go over this again, in your mind's eyes, you have a facility for viewing scenes. These scenes do not have to be real earth scenes. They can be image scenes imagined scenes or imagination images scenes. Usually, these imagination images are of something you desire. Fire equals desire, and are used for this purpose mainly. The third letter, Vav, means nail and corresponds to the elemental force of water. Water is a step nearer earth than fire images are. It could be said that water are images becoming real or on the way down. The fourth letter and final He with the dot underneath is equated to earth. The final He is the final result, the final solidified result of the image picture first seen in the window of the mind, brought about by the groping of the hand of God. I have written a whole book upon the subject of the use of the above formula, especially when and how it is used to acquire material things necessary for your happiness. The name of the book is The Art and Practice of Getting Material Things Through Creative Visualization. You should get this book, as you should find it very valuable in your life living, which is what I intended it for. So then, this whole section concerns the elemental force of water, and is a part of the whole set of elemental forces that play such a great part in our physical lives, and yet is only a part of many other parts. We will close this first section of the study of the elemental force of water here for the time being and go on to the next elemental force, fire, or Tejas. Anybody know about that ZZ Top album, Tejas? Makes me think of my dad, because he had them on the cassettes. I remember that Tejas album, and it had like the flame on it. So, what's up? Much love to you all. Thank you for being here for chapter 3. We will get cracking on chapter 4. I don't know when exactly, but very soon. I don't know if I'm gonna maybe do it after this, because I have a little bit of other stuff I might have to do as well. But it will be coming to you so soon. So be on the lookout for it. Until then, enjoy this life. Enjoy the blessings within your life. Count those instead of counting the things that you are upset about. It's difficult, I know. It's fun too. It's fun to complain. I love it. Well, sometimes I love it. Sometimes I'm trying, that's one of those things I've been trying to work on. It's just not really even speaking too much about the negative stuff, because it's hard. It's hard not to want to talk some shit, to not want to vent sometimes, all of that. But more and more, I've kind of, not only heard from people saying some of that stuff, but, like the law of attraction, energy goes where energy flows, where attention goes, all that good stuff. But even kind of these goddesses recently were kind of showing me in different ways, because it's more than about just not speaking that negativity, where there's other ways that you kind of keep yourself in those lower states, like that state of lack or that state of need. And so one of those things was them saying, hey, there's some to-do list type stuff around the house. Make that list and start checking stuff off that list, because when you just sit around knowing that there's this list and you don't even have the list, so you don't even really have an idea of kind of what's looming all in your life. You just know there's all this stuff looming that you're not taking care of, that you need to take care of, rather than getting that stuff checked off. Now you're not in a state of need because that stuff's done. It's accomplished. You've acquired it, so to speak, right? Just like we've acquired this elemental knowledge. Thank you, Ophiel. Thank you so much. And thanks again to all of you for being here. I am gonna head off. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to look at yourself in the mirror. Give yourself a kiss on the lips. Okay, until next time. Bye.